So, my stepdaughter told me not long ago that she wished she was that she had my blood in her veins, right? And I had to tell her, like, well, at first I asked her why. She said, I just feel like I would be more spiritual if I had, you know, if I was your actual biological daughter, basically. She didn't use those words, but um, and I told her, like, blood has a lot to do with your spirituality. Sure, it's um, carries the genetic disposition of your people for generations and generations and generations. But what people don't know is that DNA is also transferred not just hierarchically but heterarchically, or in so many words, that DNA is transferred uh, through people that you're not even blood related to, that you spend a lot of time around. And this makes total sense because of the fact that our environment is constantly coming into contact with our biology, whether it's the spittle that comes from your mouth when you speak, or something you touch, or when you eat together as a family, you all eat the same thing, especially when you're eating with your hands, all of these kinds of things. And over time, when you've spent a lot of time with a person, you start to take on their characteristics. You start to take on some of their thought processes. You start to take on some of their mannerisms and so on and so forth, because the bacteria that we share in living space, right? Each bacteria has its own characteristic, its own way that it makes you act. And so to be able to share this kind of environment in this way, you start to take on certain characteristics. And it works the other way around as well. But I didn't say all of that to her. I explained to her that, the things that I teach you, the things that you see me doing, so on and so forth, those things change you just as much. It just happens more, it's not innate in you. But it doesn't mean that it cannot become innate as you are surrounded with that type of environment and do the practice or work yourself to be that spiritual person or that athletic person or that whatever. Yes, it's wonderful to for your children to have your characteristics because they carry your DNA. But when your children are not blood related to you, that doesn't mean that you cannot have an effect on them positively. What they see you do, what they understand about you because they see you doing it every day, how they see you act, how they see you respond to certain triggers and certain situations in your life, in congruency with the way that you teach them. Because if you're teaching them one thing and you're doing something opposite, I don't know if I can trust that teaching. And so it's driving me. This is why I talk about men who raise children that are not theirs and how they are special, because most men would not raise a child that did not come from their loins. But this is what it means to be a good and bad, I'm not saying using it in that term, but a father of influence. A father of influence. Parenting a child that is not yours biologically, that is not connected to you biologically, I should say. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. Because you have to show them through your work, through your actions, through what they see. You got to do that with your own children as well, but it's easier for them because they have it in them. But when you're parenting a child that is not connected to you biologically, you have to put in the work or they will never change. Especially when they've already lived the first 7 years, those formative years of their life. I met my daughter Charlie when she was 6 and a half. With no father figure around. Imagine the discipline that it requires to teach a child discipline that they have never had in their entire lives. I revel in that challenge because I saw my grandfather do it. And he's not biologically connected to my mother. But I had an example, somebody who showed me that it's possible through discipline, through exerting his masculine presence in the body of that family so strongly that the 2 children of the 3 in that marriage who were not biologically tied to him, my mother and my aunt, were so touched by him that they call him dad. They consider him their father. It's not for the weak. It's not for the undisciplined. And this is where falling in love with a woman who is in this kind of situation becomes something that is a major blessing to me because it required more discipline of me. It's requiring more discipline of me. And that there are certain things that I'm used to doing as myself, not even things that are wrong, but in order to form a family, in order to blend a family. There must be another notch. Another notch. This is what love does. This is what building is. Building family, building culture. Being an example so that others follow. So that others follow. And then you build a community off of that. But, we're entering interesting times. But just wanted to share that. Just some thoughts. I love you all. Zekah.